Hey, it's Rick Quattro here. I'm going to show you how to use XML files to store data structures when you're writing scripts in FrameMaker ExtendScript. A lot of times you can use arrays or you can use objects, maybe arrays of objects. But XML can be useful if you want to visualize the data that you're storing. And a lot of times that'll be helpful for troubleshooting or just testing your code. So let's take a look at this document here. This document has a series of cross-reference markers in it, and we just want to create some kind of a report or we want some kind of a script that deals with these cross-reference markers. So we'll use these as an example. Now what we've done here is we have our text editor, we're using Ultra Edit, and we've just roughed out a quick script here. Now typically what I do when I'm going to use one of these XML data structures is I'll open up an XML editor. For example, I'm using Oxygen here, and I'll create a new XML file, and I'll just kind of rough out what I think will be useful. So I'm going to create an XML document here, and typically I'll call these a map. So my top level element will be map, and that's just a convention. You can call it whatever you want. So we're going to create a map of cross-reference markers. And so I may call this a marker element here. And then typically I'll just store things in attributes. I won't have any text in these elements. So what do I want? Well, I want the ID of the marker. So I'll store the ID, and I want the maybe the page number would be useful. So I'll store the page number. I can store the document name, but we'll do that in a different place. And then of course we want the marker text. And we can just use text. We already know it's a marker. And let's see what else. And then we can, if we later on want to see if this marker is in use, if this cross-reference marker is in use, we can just create an attribute called in use. And that would end up being, say, true or false. And then we could use that to write a report or use it in another fashion. If this was a general purpose script that we were storing different markers, maybe we would put in the type, the marker type, and this would, of course, in this case, would be cross-ref, and we want it to be just like it is in the interface. So this is all arbitrary. You make this up. You decide what you want to do based on how you want to use it. Now, typically, my idea is usually to store more information than I need, because if I don't need it, I just throw it away, or I modify my script to not pick it up. So let's figure out the document. I think the document might be better off to have its own element. So if we do this, we'll have some nesting here. So we'll have the document element, and then each document, if we run this on a book, would have obviously more than one doc element in it. And so we'll store the path. So I think I like this. I think this is going to work out fine. And again, I'm just roughing it out in here just to kind of get an idea of what I'm going to do. So let's go back to our script, and let's talk about XML literals. ExtendScript makes it very, very easy to create an XML literal. So what we can do to create an XML object, let's initialize a variable here, and let's call it map. And we'll say map equals, and then we can just use a literal XML syntax here. So this is going to give us an XML object that has a single root map element, and we can actually start with this. So we can start with this, and then what we'll do is for this document we'll add the name, we'll add the path. So we'll add that as an attribute. And I think we decided to, let's look at this. So we decided to put a doc element in and then its path as an attribute. So let's see if we can do that. So what we'll do is we will, in fact, let's put this in a function. Let's call this function get doc data. And then we'll pass in the map, we'll pass in the document object, and we'll pass in the map. And that way we can just, for every document that we process in this book, we'll grab the document data. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to get a doc element. So we can create a new XML variable, and we're just going to use the name XML. Actually, let's call this a node, because this will be an XML node, and we're going to simply say node equals, and we'll use a literal doc, and we'll say path equals, and then what we'll do here in angle brackets, all we have to do is actually put in the doc name, and that'll give us the complete path. And this syntax, typically you expect to see quotes here, but this is built into ExtendScript, and this allows you to create an attribute using a variable. So we have a variable here, we have the doc variable with its name property, and the ExtendScript will automatically put quotes in this for us. So let's add this to the map. So we're going to say map append child, and then we'll just pass in the node. We'll put in a semicolon, and then what we'll do is we'll call this function. We'll say get doc data, and we'll pass in the document object, and we'll pass in the map. Now whenever you pass in this XML object, it gets passed in by reference, so we don't have to return it. It'll just get updated as it goes along. So that copy of it that we created on line 8 will continue to get updated. And then we can actually display this. So we can say alert map, and then we need to convert this to an XML string. And so that's the method for doing that. Put a semicolon, and let's see what we get. Let's go to FrameMaker, and let's go ahead and run this. And yeah, you can see that we've got the root map element that we created. We've got the doc element. We have a path attribute, and it's got the full path to our FrameMaker file. And it's self-closing because we don't have any content. And then we have the closed element here. And so we click OK. Now in the next video we'll show you how to actually save this to the disk so you can use it later on. You can either read it back in to use it, or you can just read it in just to take a look at it.